Hello everybody. I wanted to make another video about using Su-25 and in this case also the MiG-21 with guided missiles. And the reason I have called the video Old School Russian Missiles is that in case of the MiG-21 it's true, it's completely old school. And the missiles of the Su-25 themselves are less old school, but the targeting system definitely is. And using these things are not all that easy. So in this first run you have seen a more or less successful one, and we have been able to nicely shack the BMP-2. This one will be a little different because I have just completed the successful attack and to eagerly, greedily, immediately turned back, but using the system is a little finicky, and if you don't gain enough separation, you won't be able to have enough time to target before you're in the minimum range. The other thing to consider when firing guided missiles with Su-25 is that you need to remain quite steady both with your aircraft and also your targeting system. Once you command lock, you can still slew around the pipper, but it's a little bit of a gambling because you can lose your target quite easily that way. You really need to be very smooth, both with slewing your pipper and your aircraft. So you really need to bring your pipper on the target, lock, and generally remain steady. Otherwise, you can miss. The Su-25ML is a fairly fast missile, which is a good thing for a Su-25 because you need to keep the target locked until the impact, and this means you more or less have to fly towards it. A fast missiles minimizes the time you have to keep doing that, which improves your survivability, of course. The KH-29L and S-25L, while they both have considerably larger warheads than the KH-25, they're a lot slower, and in case of S-25L, a lot shorter ranged. So using those in high threat environments can be a little more hazardous. As I have just said, the KH-29L has a fairly big warhead, and this shows even with near misses. You can often kill an IFV with a near, not even particularly near miss. So it's a little more forgiving with misses, and it's more useful against larger hardened targets like big hangars, etc. The 29 is a fairly big and heavy missile, so when you fire one, you will feel the effect of having another one asymmetrically loaded on your other wing. The aircraft's trim will be affected fairly significantly, and you will lose trim. The aircraft will shake a little bit when you fire. This will complicate your steady flight until the missile impacts, so be a little more careful after you fire a KH-29L. The 29 isn't a terribly fast missile, so it takes a while until it gets to its target, especially from a long-range shot. So depending on the environment, it might be a good idea to slow down after launching it. Or if you're firing it against a big target and pinpoint accuracy isn't all that important, maybe turn a little bit and remain steady after the turn. With any missile in the Su-25, it's a bit of a trade-off. You can take a slight turn to any direction immediately after the launch. So you will be extending away from the target, at least to a little degree, but that turn usually makes your targeting solution jump a little bit, and also it makes it very hard to see on your gun sight, so corrections become extra difficult. On the other hand, flying directly towards the target provides for better accuracy, also with greater risk of getting hit and shut down in the process. The last and arguably also the least is the S-25L for Su-25. The advantage is that you can carry this missile on the outermost pylons, so it can give you 2 more guided missiles. It's the shortest rangest, it isn't particularly fast, but it does hit pretty hard, make no mistake. It's not as much as KH-29, but still hits pretty hard. The problem with S-25L is that since it's fairly short-ranged, but still a semi-active laser homing missile, you need to fire it from quite up close and keep the target locked all the while the not particularly fast missile is flying towards it. So it's not a great missile for using in high-threat environments, but it is still a precision-guided missile that can hit hard against hard targets. So it's an option. And finally we come to the true old-school experience with the MiG-21Bis and KH-66 Grom missiles. In truth, as far as I know, the Bis variant of MiG-21 should not be able to use this missile because the missile only works with older versions of the radar on like MiG-21, PFM, etc. But it has been included in the module since its release, and it is what it is. Its guidance is both kind of similar, but also quite different to what we have experienced in Su-25. The KH-66 is guided to wherever your radar is looking at, and you have no ability to sleeve the radar around. So in practice, wherever the nose of your plane is pointing, the missile will try to go there. So that's kind of interesting and fun in my opinion. And you may remember the weight difference after firing a missile, the asymmetrical load issue. That's even stronger in the MiG-21 using this missile, because you're a lighter little plane with tiny wings, so when you release one big missile from one pylon, you will feel it. And since you need to keep the plane rock steady for missiles to go straight and not go crazy, firing a missile makes it adventurous. That's why I prefer to almost always fire both missiles, but staggering the launches a second or two between each other. This way I can guide the missiles to two different targets if they are near enough to one another. The KH-66 is actually sort of the grandfather to KH-25. They are sort of similar. To be able to guide this missile, you need to switch the MiG-21's radar to fixed beam mode, and yeah, it's in the name, fixed beam, so it's only going to look in front of the plane. And to guide it, you need to use the fixed net on MiG-21's gun sight glass. Do not mind the pipper, it's not showing the correct location in this patch, I guess. There are small crosses on the fixed net side. The smallest one on the bottom, that's where your radar is looking at, and that's where the missile will go and impact. You need to keep that small cross steady on your target, and yeah, it will hit. As for the capabilities of the missile itself, it's sort of fast, but not as fast as KH-25 or well, it's not as slow as S-25 either. So it's in the middle, and its warhead is actually quite decent. It performs quite well. If anything, it may be a little over-modeled in DCS right now, but it's, let's just say the warhead is quite reliable. Direct hits will take care of tanks, and even nearish misses will damage lighter vehicles like APCs, IFVs, etc. pretty handily. So, the long and short, I like using these missiles because they are finicky to use, and it's challenging fun. But in case of Su-25, I don't really think they add a lot to usage of Su-25, because more often than not you're better off using unguided rockets. Because ironically they provide better standoff distance. You can just come in high speed, release them at maximum range, and turn away immediately. The missiles offer some greater range, but since you have to keep lasing for them while still flying towards the target, you end up getting much closer to target. In case of MiG-21, while this also holds true, sometimes the KH-66, especially with its good damage potential, can provide a few options to MiG-21, but even in MiG's case, it's more a novelty, to be honest. But yeah, they are fun to learn and use, so I hope this has been helpful to someone, and see you all later.